And if you talk to any of the leading investors, so venture capitalists in the world, most of them will tell you that actually starting a company is a very, very easy thing. The difficult thing is scaling that company from a small idea to girls in a garage somewhere coding away is relatively easy. The big challenge is scaling that company. In Silicon Valley, that means that there are a breed of people that are essentially like unicorns, and they're the operations guys. So within Facebook, you have people like Sheryl Sandberg and a number of others. Within Apple, you had Tim Cook, and every company that's been successful, probably the one thing that has set them apart from all of their competitors is not necessarily just the vision of the entrepreneur, but is the fact that they've been able to surround themselves with 1 or 2 or 3 key operations people that have helped them scale that business. So sitting beside me, Marcus has spent 15 years doing that in San Francisco. Most recently, he started as a board advisor to Zynga when it was a very, very itty-bitty startup. And then at about, 35, 40, 50 people, he joined the company. And over the next 4 years, it grew from 50 people to 3,000 people, went public. That's not the first time Marcus has been through that process. He's also an investor in a number of other companies in San Francisco and a board advisor to many more. So it's a huge privilege to have Marcus in Ireland, because there are, in the context of Ireland, we're very, very good at starting companies, and there are tons of very exciting companies right now emerging from this economy, and that's very exciting. But I think one of the challenges we're going to face is how we scale those companies as they continue, I hope, to get much bigger. So I'm very, very delighted to have Marcus in Dublin. He's going to be with us working with lots of startups in Dublin and in Ireland over the next number of months. So I'd just like you to put your hands together and welcome Marcus to Dublin.
Thanks very much. That was like a big dose of self-esteem coaching. I wish my mom was sitting right there to hear that.
Marcus arrived in yesterday from San Francisco, so it's his first time back here since 2011 when he opened up the European operations for Zynga. So I'm just wondering, since that time you've become, somewhat aware of Dublin in the context of Silicon Valley, and I'm wondering what it means.
It's pretty interesting. I remember when the IDA first came around, it was, I think, mid-2009, and we weren't really on anybody else's roadmap yet, Zynga, I mean. But the IDA was there. They sort of figured out, okay, this company's onto something. And they came first, and they came often. I wasn't even ready to think about what our international presence might be like. Our games weren't even in other languages at that point. But the IDA was there knocking on the door. And then, other countries came along, but no one really got it like Ireland got it. And when we came out here, Facebook wasn't quite here yet. Now everybody's here. And what I've seen since really 2009, when the conversation first began, till now is I don't think it's possible to be a major global player without having an operation in Ireland, either in Dublin or Belfast or the surrounding areas. If you want to be a player on the global stage, you will have an office here.
So it's the go-to city in Europe for you at this point?
It is the go-to city. There is such an incredible quantity of talent, of diverse talent here, and just a great attitude, just a can-do attitude. We were able to get from, once we sort of decided Ireland to up and running, 6 months, less. I mean, it took less time to set up an office in Ireland than it would have taken to set up an office in another state in the United States and get connectivity and everything. It was really impressive.
So where do you think Ireland goes from here? Where do you see as the opportunity? What's happened over the last decade that you think is, interesting, and how do we build from there?
Well, I'll tell you, part of my decision to basically relocate to Ireland for a time is because I think that there's something special happening right here. So when great companies build offices here, they're investing in the talent and the people of this country, and then what you're going to see are successive waves of innovation. So some of that innovation is going to happen inside of those companies. Facebook, Intel, we heard about the chip that's being that's designed in Ireland. I'd love to hear designed in Ireland a lot in the next decade. What I want to see is I want to see more entrepreneurship. I want to see more startups coming out of Ireland. I want to help the startups that are here, and I want to inspire more people to take up entrepreneurship as a lifestyle or as a cause, depending on your disposition. Because if you look at other countries like Israel, for instance, where I was in the fall, they are also having, major companies have offices there too, but they're also creating incredibly impressive startups that are employing thousands of people that are homegrown. And I want to see that happen here in Ireland, and anything I can do to help, that's really why I'm here.
Do you think that's because, so you just talked about the chip being designed in Ireland. So do you think by dint or by virtue of the fact that you're going to have engineers designing chips in Ireland, you'll end up with more spin-outs? I mean, should there be more of an emphasis on hard engineering versus soft services and support?
I think that there's going to be both. I think a company like Waze in Teleview's mapping software, I don't know if any of you guys use it. It's an app you can download. It's great for finding your way. That's software. That was created, 40, 50 people, had a multi-billion-dollar exit. So it could be something like that. It should be some mixture of both. I don't see why Ireland can't dominate both in software and hardware. You've got the talent for both here.
And so we were talking earlier, you feel strongly that there's two things that need to happen, something around education and something around immigration. Do you want to talk to both of those?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that for the country to fill the gaps, meaning, if you need a data scientist and you don't have enough data scientists, then let's get some data scientists in there. The U.S. doesn't say, well, let's put it this way. I'm not upset that they put Colin Farrell in movies in the U.S. I don't say, wait a minute, Colin Farrell just stole my job. I should have been in that movie. Because if we bring Colin Farrell over and we can get the movie financed, then hundreds of people have jobs, right, on the film. So Colin, come on back, make a movie.
So we need to find the Colin Farrell of data science in India.
Wherever the data scientists are. I mean, if there's someone that can show me data that says that Irish data scientists are losing jobs to data scientists from other countries, I want to see the data. I don't buy it. I'd like to see data scientists, I'd like to see Ireland become the place that technologists, that entrepreneurs, data scientists, marketers, designers, let's make this the country that they want to live in. And the way that you do that, you've already got so many of the pieces. This is already an incredibly livable country. What else do people want? What do we all want? We want our children to have an incredible education, right? So let's make the school system here one of the best school systems in the world, particularly in STEM. So if you have people that are STEM workers as it is, they're going to want their children to have an excellent STEM education. So build it here. And then you'll have this successive flywheel effect where the smartest people in the world are coming here, their kids, and the children of Ireland will get a top-notch STEM education, and then it just keeps on going. The wheel keeps on turning.
You hired a lot of people over a very condensed period of time. You've also helped a lot of other companies find the right people for their companies. What do you see as just looking even at the Valley, what do you see as the deficit in education? So what do you think right now the Irish education system, that could be at a high school or secondary school level or elementary school level, should be focusing on to address what you see as deficits, maybe not just here, but elsewhere in the world?
Sure, and I'm no expert on the Irish educational system, and I think I heard some encouraging data, and I was blown away by Stephen's presentation on initiatives that are being undertaken. But I think that Stephen really had it right. The idea that you've got this hero teacher standing in front of a room of 30 or more kids and expecting them to learn a whole lot is just a little bit goofy. There's just too many distractions. There's too many cell phones and things like that happening. I think that we can take an integrated approach to education with an emphasis on both STEM and arts, that there's a way, actually, a smart way to combine the two in education and especially if we can embrace new tools. I mean, the fact that a teacher has to stand up today and take role in a classroom, can you imagine? I've got to sit there and read out each name of each student in the class before I can start teaching. I mean, I should be able to just walk in, the student should walk into the classroom and it should just activate. We know they're in the room, right? Like, this shouldn't be that hard. Like, I just added, 15 minutes to the classroom to teaching every day just in that change, right? So smart classrooms, I think an emphasis on STEM education, I think especially an emphasis on STEM education for underserved groups. So people who are on the lower end of the economic strata, they need to be exposed to the kinds of opportunities that there are. Women, there's definitely worldwide a deficit, a significant lack of women in science and technology and mathematics. Like, we can attack that, but what we have to do is we have to introduce these ideas and these technologies to these young people. In the United States, there's a program called MESA. It's a public-private partnership. And in this program, and we could do this in Ireland like next month, they take volunteers from major companies like Boeing, and they bring them into high schools that have at-risk youth. And they talk to them about what they're doing. They bring them into their laboratories, and they show them a lot of really cool stuff. And that's all it takes. They just light a spark in their minds, and the students that participate in that program have an 80% graduation rate, double the state of California's average, right? And it started off as an initiative that some people in a pub thought of, and now it's a statewide program.
So one of the previous speakers was talking about literacy and how incredibly important it was, and I heard you speak previously about the fact that you feel coding is almost the new literacy. Do you feel that coding should be taught, at an elementary level, at a primary school level, at a high school, secondary school level?
I mean, one of the most impressive, there's a lot of impressive inventions that have come out of Ireland. I was reading online, not just chocolate milk, which I love. I don't know if you guys know that. Chocolate milk came from Ireland. I read that online. So it must be true. But also,
it was on one of the government websites, I think.
But I think that, in the tank, and there's a lot of things, but I think that Coder Dojo is an amazing idea, right? I think that, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids can learn to code. They can. And it'll be really fun. And it's a new way of solving problems, and it's like a little game, like we saw the Skype call game that from Stephen's presentation. You can do that. Kids want to learn how to code, right? It's vastly more interesting than do all of you remember the math books that we had, right? Like, think about all the different kinds of things that we can introduce to kids. And I think, Coder Dojo is a great model. I think that I suspect that if you guys had Coder Dojo in your schools, in your toughest schools, that you would see graduation rates go up. Because it's just another outlet.
It's the cool thing to do.
It is the cool thing to do. And by the way, if you have cool Irish entrepreneurs, success stories go into those schools and tell their stories, they'll be transformed. It's all about that introduction of the spark. I remember when I was a little kid and I saw Star Wars for the first time. And it dramatically changed how we played on the playground when that movie came out, right? Before that, it was a bunch of hot lava, like, oh, the ground's hot lava, and you're jumping from rock to rock. And then we saw this amazing movie, and suddenly we're fighting with lightsabers, and it's a whole other kind of battle, right? So whatever we introduce to our children, that becomes the basis of a new sort of strata of imaginative thinking.
So, okay, so to kind of just synopsize a little bit about just some of the things you've been talking about. So the next decade is all about designed in Ireland. You feel very strongly about that?
Absolutely. I'd like to see designed in Ireland. I want to read about I want to see startups in Ireland choosing between going public or being acquired by Google for billions of dollars. Right? That I think would be an incredible, we're in the room here, right? This is the US and the Irish together agreeing that we'd love to see this happen.
And education and immigration are going to be key.
Education and immigration are going to be key. Let's fill in the gaps. If Ireland is light on data scientists, let's fix that in the schools, and in the meantime, let's bring some in.
So what else? How do we create more operations guys? So I think Ireland's a very entrepreneurial country. There are lots of great startups right now. How do we fill in the gap and start to train a generation of people to help these entrepreneurs scale global companies?
You know, I'm no expert yet, because it's been 24 hours, but I plan to become an expert on understanding what the Irish government does and what the universities do to support startup initiatives. But I do think that there can be, and I think what you're doing is really important with Summit, is creating a community for entrepreneurs, for startups to get together and talk about their experiences, because there's so much there in terms of best practices and sharing. I mean, look, I'll come over here and every mistake I've made, I'm willing to share with the startups in Ireland. And hopefully that will help them, that someone will get they'll have to make a decision. They'll say, oh wait, that guy Marcus, he really screwed this up before. What did he do? But really it's gonna come through experience here, you know, and through the sharing of ideas through community.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Marcus.